Hey guys, it's SJ, I hope you're well, welcome round. Today's video is another one in the positive discipline series, but I wanted to talk a little bit about how to help raise children's self-esteem and keep their confidence high. There's just been so much in the press that's kind of upset me this week around lockdown and the effects on our children's kind of mental health and confidence and learning and having that kind of social self-esteem is something that people are really worried about being knocked. So I thought I would focus on that this week. It's something that I've sort of had a lot on my mind in my last few years, particularly with my son having a speech delay. I was so nervous about him feeling unconfident starting school, or that he wasn't worth the opportunities of other children because he has something different about him. And I think that that's why I read so much about self-esteem. So these are things, really easy practical things, like I'm not into analysing or kind of so much self-therapy, or I don't do loads of like kind of mindfulness with the kids. I really don't. I just have some strategies at my sleeve that I just pepper in to everyday conversations with them. So they're super easy, but they're really, really effective. I've teamed up with somebody else for this video. So there's another SJ, Sammy Jo. Sammy Jo is Mother Freckle on Instagram. She has a huge Instagram account. She's lovely. She's a mum of 3. She actually used to work for the NHS, and so she's really well informed about this type of stuff, and she's doing a video on how to raise happy children. So we thought we'd team up. She's just started she's just restarted her YouTube channel after a bit of a break to get used to having 3 kids, but her video will be live, so go and check her out. She's such a down-to-earth, lovely mum, really, really relatable. She's on that newborn journey as well, if you are. But let's jump on to the 5 tips. So the first thing is really just to teach them about self-esteem and what that means. So you can start having those conversations so little. Like I used to have these conversations with Finn when he was 4, and it was very much about, what are you good at? You're great at this. To sort of let them know that. And I'd say to my eldest child, he really struggled academically, and I would say to him, you know, being great at art is just as important as being good at maths, when there seems to be this, you know, cookie cutter education for everybody. So really understanding and letting them see their own strengths. And there's tons of little activities you can do, you can incorporate into your home learning. I will link Elsa's support below, who have a whole self-esteem workbook that I did, and it's things like what are you like and what is your friend like, and sort of understanding your individual character traits is a really good one. Things like that. So just really understanding their self-worth, what they're good at, and if there is something that they're negative about themselves, like with Finn, he was obviously worried about his speech and his ability to communicate. But I would always say, you know, you're the kindest and most helpful little child, because he is, and his empathy is so much higher because he's had to really work to get people's attention and affection, which is sad. And then he went into school and he was the most kind and helpful teacher's buddy, and he really endeared himself to the teachers through that. So always letting them know what's special about them, what's unique about them, is a way of just understanding and being self-aware and raising that self-esteem. Second really practical thing to do is at home, instead of having star charts, individual children, where you kind of get this reward, is having house points. So this works so well. Their kids love it because it's like Harry Potter, but what it does as well is it really recognises everyone's individuality, and that we all work together as a community to raise each other up, which obviously is a really important thing to learn, and that starts at home in a very simple way. So having a house point just means that you know, Finn is great at listening and he's great at being helpful, so we'll be like, great, you've earned 2 house points for everyone by helping with dinner. Whereas Freddie is not that practical to help me with the dinner. Whereas Freddie is so good at looking after Evelina, so he will really help with the bedtime routine with her. He really enjoys reading her a story, or if she's scared even, he'll want to snuggle up with her. So it'll be, you've shown so much kindness and taken responsibility, you've earned 2 house points for everybody. So it really is a great way of kind of recognizing that we succeed when others succeed, and it's also just a really good way of avoiding that someone being the good one, because remember, we had stars at home. I was always the good one, as you can imagine. I was such a goody because I wanted those stars, I wanted that reward, and then you're in the situation when one kid's suddenly getting a reward, the other's not, they feel like the bad one. So yeah, house points is a brilliant discipline technique. The third one is really easily just modeling good behavior, or giving them the coping strategies for the situations they're going to get into. So it's often you lose your confidence when you go into a situation and you're just totally feel out of your depth and that you don't understand what's going on, and going to school can really feel like that. And I always think, you know, if it was me on like a first day in a new job and no one bothered to tell me where to go and get lunch, or I wasn't sure of the rules, it's really, really overwhelming. So preparing them as much as possible can allow them to be really confident. So one thing I would always say as well is, at lunchtime, it's so much fun to play alone. I really enjoy playing alone, just to get them over that hurdle of, if I have to play alone because I don't know what to do, I'll just have loads of fun playing alone, because who doesn't love alone time? My kids are really happy to play independently at home. So you can say things like that, like, oh, and then obviously if they play with friends, it's a bonus, but they're not going to have that confidence knock or that overwhelming feeling upset at the beginning of lunch hour if they're not playing with anyone. And when they're a bit older, you can talk to them about their friends and their feelings. So it will be like, oh, we're all going back to school and we haven't been at school since March. Obviously all your same friends are going to be there. How do you think Victor is feeling about coming back to school? And get them to think about that, think about them, and they might say, they'll project, you know, or he might be feeling a bit shy because we haven't seen each other for like 5 months. It might be a bit awkward to kind of start our friendship off where we left off. They wouldn't say it that way, but and then you can say, give them the coping strategies to do that. Well, why don't you remember your favourite game you used to play? What was it? Freeze tag. And when you get into school, you could say, let's all play freeze tag at lunchtime, and I remember last time I was 5 points up or whatever. And you give them the social skills to use in the situation and preparing them, and it really helps with their confidence. Or you can say, you know, you're such a good friend, I know you'll sort of sit and listen if they're a bit worried, and give them again that self-esteem in their friendship. Next one we did at home, and it was brilliant, was we did a really simple exercise as part of our home learning about community, what communities you're a part of, because often children, they've forgotten, they've just been at home with us for so long. So it's number one, you're part of your family, you're part of your school, you might be part of your church or your clubs that you go to, you're part of your country. It was something that Freddie straight away said, he's like, I belong to my country. And it's like, yeah, great. And then we took that into, okay, so what do our communities tell us about our beliefs, and explaining that our communities, we need to look for our communities to be as diverse as possible, because if we all have the same type of people in our communities and we don't have diversity amongst them, then we're all going to just have the same beliefs and we're not going to have a chance to learn or to teach other people about our different ways. And it was a really simple leap for the children, but they really, really enjoyed that lesson. It was like the favourite one we've done, and I think it's really great for their self-esteem, because then they understand, this is me as an individual, I'm this person from this community with these beliefs and these talents, and I would respect somebody else's from a different community or from within my community, and we've each got something to give each other. So yeah, teaching a little bit about community is a really simple little home lesson to do. And the last one is really celebrating their passions, no matter what they are. So obviously my kids' passions is unfortunately the game Fortnite. I've given in and let them have Fortnite during lockdown, because they do go online and play with their friends, because you play in these like squads, and so it's been a great way of them staying in touch, and they're so passionate about it. So this week we always did a thing where we did like a kind of a role reversal, and they taught me some stuff and they taught me about Fortnite, and then we could use that time to kind of give them a little confidence and be like, gosh, when you love something, look, you've spent extra time researching hacks so that you're the best at this building thing, or this person's great at building, so you work together in a squad and you all help each other and it's such great teamwork, or because you want to do better, you've practiced and practiced and practiced, and now look what you can do, which you couldn't have done when you first played. So sort of giving them their praise and something that they're good at and that they love, because sometimes we just get praised about the stuff we find difficult, rather than people just like, especially with kids, because their interest seems small to us, but it's really lovely to hear somebody validating your interests, whether that's Pokemon or Barbies or Trolls or Fortnite, whatever it is, recognizing all the skills beside it. Then the next time they're finding something difficult, we can be like, oh, what would you do on Fortnite? You thought it was really difficult to build at the beginning, so you practiced and practiced. Why don't we apply that same determination that you've shown onto this maths problem or whatever it might be? It's going to be much harder for you because it's maths and we find it more difficult, but you're determined, you can do this. And sort of a way of celebrating them, celebrating what they're good at, really raising their self-esteem and confidence in that, and then they'll be much more willing to apply it to things they find harder. So those are just 5 really simple tips. I've got so much hay fever if I'm talking really quietly. It's just that allergy thing at the moment. Don't forget that over on Mother Freckles' channel, she is talking about how to raise happy children and some tips for happiness. I hope these confidence ones and self-esteem ones have just been interesting. Might be a couple of things you can incorporate into your week, and if you are worried about back to school after lockdown, just let me know below. Like, I'm the same as you guys, you know, it's just going to be a big shift, and also I just think it's so overwhelming hearing about our children's mental health being so damaged. And remember that for many that is really serious, but also, you know, we're trying our best. I felt like I was being told off or something, like it was my fault and I'd done something wrong, but I thought, no, like, I've done my best. You know, and as everyone says, you know, likelihood you're doing better than you think you are. Take care. I will see you on my next video, and I will see you over on Sammy Joe's as well in a minute, so I'm gonna go and watch that one now, and have a lovely weekend. Bye guys.